Welcome to the pre-application information session for the fiscal year 2025 Legal Assistance for Victims Grant Program, also referred to as the LAV program. The Office on Violence Against Women, also referred to as OVW, is convening this pre-application session to go over the fiscal year 2025 Notice of Funding Opportunity, or NOFO, for the LAV program. Please note that we will be reading from a script as required by OVW office policy. However, we will be able to answer your questions. Next slide. The purpose of this session is to provide information regarding the LAV notification of funding opportunity. We will highlight a few key points in this presentation. However, it is not the intent, nor is there sufficient time to go over every aspect of the NOFO. All applicants are responsible for reading the fiscal year 2025 LAV NOFO and the OVW NOFO companion guide and ensuring that a complete application is submitted. LAV program staff cannot provide any feedback to applicants about the quality of an applicant's proposal or provide any information outside of what is presented in the NOFO. However, we will be available throughout the period that the NOFO is open to respond to any questions about application requirements. Please feel free to send questions to the LAV program email box at ovw.lav@usdoj.gov or call the main line at 202-307-6026. We will also pause periodically throughout the presentation to answer your questions live. It will be helpful to have the LAV NOFO in front of you for a point of reference during this information session. You may take a moment now to open it if you have not done so already. Also, we will send these slides to you after the webinar, so please do not feel that you must remember everything we tell you here. You may use the presentation alongside the NOFO and the companion guide as you prepare your application. Deadlines. On the cover of the NOFO, please note that the final applications are due by 8:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, January 30th. Please refer to page 5 of the NOFO for more information on key dates. Please note that OVW will not accept late applications, so applicants are strongly encouraged to begin submitting their applications 48 hours prior to the application deadline and to carefully review the OVW policy on late submissions, which can be found on pages 31 through 32 of the NOFO. OVW anticipates notifying all applicants of funding decisions by October 1st, 2025. Next slide. Eligibility is mentioned briefly on the cover of the NOFO, as well as in more detail on pages 6 to 7. Eligible applicants include private, nonprofit entities, publicly funded organizations not acting in a governmental capacity, such as law schools, territorial organizations, Indian tribal governments, including Indian tribal consortia and tribal organizations. Program description. Page 4 of the NOFO provides an executive summary of the LAV program. The Legal Assistance for Victims program, LAV, is intended to increase the availability of legal assistance to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking by funding comprehensive legal services projects. The legal services projects should include organizations that have a mission and history of providing direct services to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. Eligible applicants include nonprofit organizations, publicly funded entities acting in a non-governmental capacity, such as law schools, Indian tribal governments, Indian organizations, and territorial organizations. Services must include legal representation by a licensed attorney. In addition to an attorney, legal assistance may be also provided by some other qualified professionals, including BIA accredited representatives in immigration proceedings, VA authorized representatives in VA claims, or anyone who functions as an attorney or lay advocate in tribal court. Finally, applicants who plan to provide services only in tribal courts may propose projects that only include lay advocates who are authorized to provide representation in those courts. These applications should include the allowable scope of representation lay advocates will be allowed to provide in the tribal court where victims will be represented. Next slide. Program description continued. Any services unrelated to the provision of legal assistance are unallowable under the LAV grant program. However, examples of activities beyond direct legal services that may be supported with LAV funds include advocacy, as long as the advocate is providing services related to the legal assistance. For example, safety planning, court accompaniment, and preparation for court appearances. Translation services, if related to the legal services. Childcare directly related to legal assistance. For example, childcare to enable the victim to meet with his or her attorney or to go to court, and transportation related to the legal assistance. For example, travel to meet with the lawyer or to go to court. Please note that LAV grant program funds may not be used to provide criminal defense services. However, funds can be used to provide post-conviction relief to survivors if the matter is relating to or arising from domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or sex trafficking. If you or a project partner provide services that are unrelated to legal services in connection with your project, you should make it clear in your proposal that LAV funds will only be used to support allowable activities. Purpose areas. Funds under this program must be used for one or more of the statutory purpose areas listed on this slide. The fiscal year 2025 LAV grant program has 3 purpose areas. You will find the information on page 10 of the NOFO. Please review this section carefully as project activities funded through the LAV grant program must fall under one or more of these purpose areas. You will note that purpose area 3 states not more than 10% of the funds awarded may be used for pro bono legal assistance. This requirement applies to the entire amount of LAV funded appropriated for the year. This is something that OVW monitors internally. Applicants are not required to limit their proposals to 10% pro bono legal assistance. Next slide. Statutory considerations, sexual assault. OVW recognizes the need to address the lack of available direct legal services for survivors of sexual assault and the unique aspects of sexual assault trauma from which survivors must heal. Applicants proposing to focus 50% or more of their grant-funded activities on intimate and non-intimate partner sexual assault legal services will be given special consideration. Note that at least some grant activities must be focused on non-intimate partner sexual assault, and that the lead applicant or project partner must have the mission or purpose to serve victims of sexual assault. In addition, applications that are submitted by nonprofit, non-governmental, or tribal organization, including sexual assault coalitions, whose mission or purpose is to serve victims of sexual assault and which propose to focus all of their grant-funded activities on sexual assault, including at least 80% of non-intimate partner sexual assault legal services, can apply for larger awards and may be eligible for an additional 24 months of non-competitive funding. In both cases, applicants should articulate the specific legal needs of sexual assault survivors within their communities and how project activities would meet those needs. Applications should also reflect the applicant's specialized training and experience in legal matters specific to sexual assault. Those applying to focus on sexual assault should demonstrate a commitment to addressing sexual assault and should clearly show that the applicant has the capacity to address the priority effectively. In order to be considered for the sexual assault statutory consideration area, applicants must respond to all of the sexual assault questions in the project narrative and MOU or MOE. These additional questions are required whether you're applying to use 50% or all of your funds to serve victims of sexual assault. Next slide. Statutory considerations, tribal programs. Pursuant to the LAV statute, at least 3% of funds made available for the LAV program must be used for projects that assist adult and youth victims of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and sexual assault on lands within the jurisdiction of an Indian tribe. Applications proposing to assist such victims will receive special consideration in order to meet the requirement, but they must include the percentage of proposed activities that will support services to victims on tribal lands. Additional priority consideration will be given to applications with the tribal government or tribal organization as the lead applicant or project partner. Next slide. Activities that compromise victim safety and recovery. OVW does not fund activities that jeopardize victim safety, deter or prevent physical or emotional healing for victims, or allow offenders to escape responsibility for their actions. Please refer to the OVW NOFO Companion Guide for additional details. Please note, applications that propose any activities that compromise victim safety and recovery or undermine offender accountability may receive a deduction in points during the review process or may be eliminated from consideration entirely. Next slide. LAV specific out-of-scope activities. The LAV program has specific out-of-scope activities that will not be supported by this program. We have highlighted some of these activities in this slide, but a couple of examples include providing representation in tort cases and developing or hosting training at the community or state level. A complete list of out-of-scope and unallowable activities can be found on page 11 of the NOFO. It is important to review these lists thoroughly as applications that propose activities deemed to be substantially out of scope may receive a deduction in points during the review process or may be eliminated from consideration. Next slide. Funds availability and award period. The NOFO provides details on the award periods and amounts beginning on page 19. All awards are subject to the availability of appropriated funds and any modifications or additional requirements that may be imposed by law. There is no guarantee that funds will be available in the future. However, OVW may elect to make awards in a future fiscal year for applications submitted under the NOFO, but not selected for fiscal year 2025 funding, depending on the merits of the application and the availability of funding. The grant award period is for 36 months, generally beginning on October 1, 2025. Next slide. Award amounts. The LAV program is making awards for $750,000 or $900,000, but amounts may vary. All awards will be made as grants. Applications submitted by organization whose mission or purpose is to serve victims of non-intimate partner sexual assault and that are proposing to focus all of the project's activities on legal services for victims of non-intimate partner sexual assault may request up to $900,000 for the entire 36-month period. Please note, if funded at the end of the 36-month award period, these grantees may be eligible to receive 24 months of additional non-competitive funding to continue their projects. All other applications may request up to $750,000 for the entire 36-month period. OVW has the discretion to award grants for greater or lesser amounts than requested and to negotiate the scope of work and budget with applicants prior to the awarding of a grant. Be sure to request the full amount of the award. Next slide. Applicant types. The LAV program accepts applications from 3 types of applicants. New applicants are organizations that have never received direct funding under the LAV program or whose previous LAV program funding expired on or before January 30, 2024. Continuation applicants are those who have an existing award under the LAV program or an award that closed after January 30, 2024. Recipients of an FY 2024 LAV award or of an FY 2023 award that was for 36 months are generally not eligible to apply as the lead applicant on a fiscal year 2025 proposal. However, recipients of an FY 23 or FY 24 award may apply as the lead applicant if the fiscal year 25 LAV application is for a distinct office that does not serve the same geographic area as the office that received funding in fiscal year 23 or fiscal year 24. Next slide. Continuation application note. Current grantees with a substantial amount of unobligated funds remaining as of March 31, 2025, without adequate justification, may be removed from consideration for funding or may receive a reduced award amount if selected for funding in fiscal year 2025. Next slide. Application types continued. Finally, the third type of applicant is non-competitive. These organizations have an existing award that addresses the LAV grant program sexual assault priority by focusing 80% or more of their grant-funded activities on legal services for victims of non-intimate partner sexual assault. Organizations that are eligible for non-competitive funding have already been contacted by the LAV unit via email. If this describes your organization, please note that you should very carefully review the NOFO after this webinar, as some of the application requirements we referenced today are different from those that non-competitive applicants should follow. Next slide. All right, we have allotted some time for some questions. We will pause now to answer those questions. And let's see here. All right, let's
Marina, we have a hand up, and
Okay.
we have several similar questions in the Q&A.
okay.
So if the person with their hand up wants to ask the question, and then we can kind of combine some of the other questions together for a response.
I'm a first-time applicant. I was trying to find out, do I have to be in an organization and able to get this?
Yes, the eligibility requirements for this grant program are nonprofit, private nonprofit organization, a tribal government or tribal organization, and tribal and territorial nonprofits.
Okay, does Hubbard House because I'm with Hubbard House.
Okay.
So
Is that a private nonprofit?
It's a government, I think.
So we, LAV cannot fund, generally cannot fund government entities with the exception of tribal government entities.
Okay, so like, how do I get help on the OVW for stalking and battery and all of that without an organization?
We have a number of grant programs that do fund government entities. And as I would keep an eye on the notification of funding opportunity releases on the LAV website, or I'm sorry, on the OVW website for those types of funding opportunities.
Okay, so I just go back on the website, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It looks like Aaron has a hand raised.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to know specifically, what is the difference between this grant opportunity, or LAV, and ELSI, or the Expanding Legal Services Initiative? I'm a little bit more familiar with ELSI in that it allows for organizations to house or to hire or bring on board in-house legal assistance. But what are the differences between ELSI and LAV?
That's a great question. Yes, no. So ELSI has a 12 to 18 month planning period. It is for organizations that do not currently offer legal services to victims at their organization. And so it has a planning period to develop a legal department and then bring in an attorney to provide legal representation. LAV can fund organizations that already provide legal services, or organizations that are partnering with other entities that provide legal services.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Is it Belen?
My question is, we're a nonprofit organization and we work with immigrant cases, I mean, everything that you have to file with USCIS. So
Mhm.
under that category, there is an application that you can file. It's the
Mhm.
VAWA application. So people that doesn't have an immigrant status and were victims of domestic violence, they can apply to become a resident.
Mhm.
Is that processing classified as part of legal assistance under this grant?
If you're, yes, providing a survivor with legal advice on that process would be legal assistance under the LAV program.
Okay, thank you.
Madeline?
Hi, I'm from Tulsa and I went to the University of Oklahoma, so I've spent time in non-Indian country, Oklahoma as well. According to the DOJ's Office on Violence Against Women's website, there are no statewide resources for either survivors of sexual assault or domestic violence in that state. I'm currently in California and I count my blessings. But is that correct in that there is not a single organization in that state doing this work that this grant could be applied for? I would have to create it wholesale for the state in either one of those regards, either sexual assault or domestic violence. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I do not know off the top of my head all of the organizations that we fund in like all of the states throughout the country. Our funds are available to eligible entities in all the states and territories of the country. But I would need to go back and look into that more to be able to accurately answer your question.
Okay,
Andy,
thank
Yeah.
you.
for Oklahoma, we do have grantees. They do have a 24-hour SADB hotline. One of our grantees has that. And so yes, there are DBSA organizations that are funded in Oklahoma. And I
Okay,
know
why
that
isn't
because I
that
manage-
listed on? That's great. Why isn't that listed on the website though?
I would have to look at the specific part of the website you're looking at to be able to answer that question.
I can send an email with the link.
Okay. That sounds great.
I have an email to send it to. Thank you.
Okay. Elizabeth.
Hi, thanks for holding this. I have a question about eligibility. So I work for a nonprofit that provides legal services, and one of our programs is targeted toward victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, etc. So but it's not like a separate division. It's like a component, one separate component of a program. And so I'm just wondering if we fulfill the requirements, like to be able to submit a memorandum of exemption, or if we would need to work with another organization.
So I think a component could fit under our definition of division, but you would need to be able to show that component divisions has a mission or purpose to provide services to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking.
Okay, thank you.
Linda?
Hi, yes, I am with an organization with a domestic violence and sexual assault services. We would be partnering with a legal aid organization that we work with on this. So who would need to be the lead applicant? Can we be that, or would legal aid have to do it since they would be providing the actual attorney legal services? We would have court advocacy and other.
Either of you could be the lead applicant. The lead applicant needs to be a nonprofit or a tribal government, needs to meet the eligibility requirements that are stated in the NOFO. And so I would work with your project partner to determine what makes the most sense for the project you want to develop. Philip.
Hi, thanks for taking questions. So we're a nonprofit organization that provides legal services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault. But a significant portion of our work is done through pro bono. And so I'm looking at purpose area number 3 and trying to figure out how we quantify the 10% limit. Is there, yeah, go ahead.
Individual applicants do not have a limit on the amount of pro bono services that they can propose in their project proposal. This is a limit on all LAV funds that are awarded. So that is something that we track internally.
Got it.
So that's why that little kind of disclaimer is at the end of that.
So should we limit the amount of activities that we're proposing around pro bono, because that would affect how much would be available, or how much is available that we'd be asking for?
I would write the proposal that makes sense for your organization to write.
Okay.
And don't feel the need to limit to a specific percentage.
Okay, thank you.
Patricia.
Hi, I'm sorry. I have a question, 2 questions. You know, you're talking about the pro bono. Well, is that when, in those cases, the legal organization would not charge OVW for its legal services? Is that what you mean by pro bono?
So pro bono would be where an organization is providing mentoring, supervision, or training to attorneys who are going to volunteer to provide their services without compensation.
Okay, but whereas the others, if we wanted, you know, we have legal attorneys and we would put their salary into the budget. So that's a different issue. Okay.
Correct.
And the other question I have is on page 12, it says funds for victim assistance / support unrelated to the provision of legal assistance or legal advocacy. This is not eligible, but what about case management for DV or SA victims? Is that eligible?
As long as what is being proposed to be covered by the LAV award is related to the legal services, the legal assistance, legal representation that you are providing, that can be included in the budget.
Okay, so the individuals who are receiving case management should be receiving legal assistance, I take it.
Well, and the case management needs to be like somehow related to the legal assistance. Everything for the legal assistance for victims program, all of those things need to be related to the legal assistance that you're providing.
Okay, so it would, let's say if case management, you may be helping somebody get financial assistance and, you know, all the things to stabilize and also get legal assistance. Is that okay?
The things that you're talking about that are unrelated to the legal assistance could not be supported with LAV funds.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And we have 3 more hands up, and I want to stop questions just so we can continue on with the presentation after we have answered the next 3 individuals with their hands up. Valerie?
Hi. I have 2 questions. One, does OVW have a priority for LAV funding for this year? Obviously, it's a competitive process. Sexual assault is a priority, but other than that, family justice centers, serving victims with limited English proficiency, rural survivors, is there any priority amongst underserved populations?
There are no office priorities this year. We are implementing the statutory areas, the sexual assault and tribal.
And then the other question was, is there a preference, our DVSA agencies, we've got an MOU with most of the ones in our 18 county region. Is there a preference for us to compensate, and what percentage of the grant we should use to compensate partners? Or do the reviewers look for a percentage or amount?
So we'll get to this later when we talk about the budget, but you should fairly compensate your project partners for their services on the award, unless it is otherwise stated in the MOU.
Thank you.
Jeannie? I'm sorry if I'm said your name wrong. But...
Oh, it's okay. My name is Janai. I did have a quick question about one of the unallowable costs. It's number 5, where it says criminal representation of victims charged with crimes is unallowable. And this, I just wanted to get clarification in cases where victims are being charged with a crime because they may have reacted to whatever the situation, whatever the abuse that was taking place, and now they're the ones being charged with something. Those are cases where there can't be legal representation given under this specific grant opportunity.
That is correct. LAV funds cannot be used to provide criminal defense representation.
Okay, thank you.
Cody?
Hi, thank you guys for holding this. We're a tribal nonprofit legal aid provider in Arizona. I'm just wondering for our partners, we obviously have a tribe and a court that we utilize the most. But for other tribes in Arizona, are we limited to not providing them services if we don't have an MOU or MOE filed with the application, or is that allowable if we have at least one?
I think let me make sure I'm understanding your question. So you want to provide services in multiple jurisdictions, and you're asking if you need an MOU with all the tribal governments within the jurisdictions that you want to provide services?
Correct. We have 22 in Arizona. We currently provide services to 20 of them, but we have one tribe that's pretty prompt in getting meetings scheduled and getting obviously some of these MOUs signed within the timeframes. But I'm wondering if just because this one tribe has the MOU signed and submitted with us, I know there's a requirement in there that says that we can have a draft. But do I need a draft for 21 other tribes, or are those 21 other tribes, if they elect to provide this component, are they eligible as well? Or am I restricted just based on what's submitted?
So the restriction is not necessarily about your MOU partners. It would be about the geographic, the service area that you identify for the project. Although, and you would want to make sure that your project proposal is like explaining your service area and the types of services that you're providing throughout the service area.
Awesome. Thank you.
Martha, I'm sorry, we need to stop questions now, but you will be the first person at our next question and answer break.
Okay, thank you.
We're going to continue the slideshow, and I'm going to hand the presentation over to my colleague Ed so that he can begin.
Thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. My name is Ed Siefman. I'm also part of the LAV unit at OVW. And if we could move to the next slide, we're going to resume with a discussion about required partnerships. The NOFO details other program eligibility requirements beginning on page 7. Please note that each application must include a nonprofit, non-governmental, or tribal organization or designated division or program with the mission or purpose of providing direct services to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and or stalking, either as lead applicant or partner. The organization serving as the required expert on these crimes may be a larger multi-service organization that does not solely address domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and or stalking, but has a distinct or designated division or program that focuses on serving victims of these crimes. An example of this could be a YWCA that has a distinct domestic violence shelter. Each application must also include a nonprofit, non-governmental, tribal organization, or tribal government, or designated division or program with experience and expertise in providing legal representation by an attorney to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. Applications where neither the lead applicant nor a partner has the required expertise will be removed from consideration. Next slide, please. The delivery of legal assistance certification is a letter that must be included with every application. Details are set forth on page 26 of the NOFO. Next slide, please. Application and submission information is included in the NOFO beginning on page 28. The complete application package is available on grants.gov or at the OVW website at www.justice.gov/OVW. Applicants wishing to request a paper copy of the application materials should contact ovw.lav@usdoj.gov or by calling 202-307-6026. Applicants should anticipate that failure to submit an application that contains all of the specified elements will negatively affect the review of the application and may result in the application not being considered for funding. It is the responsibility of the applicant to ensure that a complete application is submitted by the deadline. OVW will not contact applicants for missing items. Applicants should refer to the charts on pages 5 and 30 to 31 of the NOFO to ensure that all required steps and deadlines are met. Applicants should submit only documents that are specifically requested in the NOFO. Providing information that was not requested, such as letters of support from other organizations in your community or service area, will not increase the likelihood that an application will be selected for funding. So, when in doubt, refrain from submitting documents that aren't requested. Next slide, please. Please carefully review the formatting and technical requirements on pages 13 to 14. Points may be deducted for applications that do not adhere to the formatting and technical requirements. Please read the entire list of requirements. The LAV NOFO is very competitive and attention to detail is imperative. Next slide, please. Applications must include all of the required documents. 1. Proposal narrative. This component must include the purpose of the application, what will be done, and who will implement the project sections. Please refer to pages 15 to 18 of the NOFO for complete details. 2. Budget detail worksheet and narrative. This section must include a budget and budget narrative that links clearly to the project activities specified in the proposal narrative. The budget should not contain items that are not discussed in the proposal narrative. You should include your budget as an attachment to your application. A sample budget is included as an appendix to the NOFO, and a webinar on creating a budget is available on the OVW website. 3. Memorandum of Understanding or Memorandum of Exemption. Please carefully review the distinction between the two and identify which is required for your organization. Applications that do not include all of the required components will be considered substantially incomplete and will not be considered for funding. OVW will not contact applicants for missing documents. Also, please note that there are additional questions in the project narrative and MOU or MOE if an application is addressing sexual assault. Next slide, please. Data requested with the application consists of one set of questions, the pre-award risk assessment. You will complete the survey directly in Just Grants. This is not scored, but is a required element of your application. A list of the questions for each item is included on pages 51 and 52 of the NOFO in the appendices. Next slide, please. The summary data sheet will be uploaded into Just Grants as an attachment. It should be no more than 4 pages long. The questions that should be included can be found in Appendix C, beginning on page 53 of the NOFO. Next slide, please. Regarding the proposal abstract, although this section will not be scored, your application should include an abstract that does not exceed 2 double-spaced pages. This section should not be a summary of past accomplishments. The abstract will be entered into a text box in Just Grants. Applicants are strongly encouraged to use the template for the abstract on page 14 of the NOFO. Next slide, please. The proposal narrative component should not exceed 20 double-spaced pages and must include the required 3 sections: the purpose of the application, what will be done, and who will implement the project. Reviewers will not read more than 20 double-spaced pages. If your application is not double-spaced, reviewers will only read the equivalent of 20 double-spaced pages. The remainder of the project narrative will not be scored. Make sure that you respond to every question within each of the sections. See pages 15 to 18 of the NOFO for more information. Next slide, please. A budget and budget narrative are required. Applicants should include their budget as an attachment to their application. OVW strongly encourages using a spreadsheet program such as Excel or Numbers to complete your budget attachment. There is a sample budget included in Appendix A of the NOFO. Your budget must reflect 36 months of project activity. It must include funds to attend OVW-sponsored training and technical assistance in the amount of $15,000 for proposals from organizations located within the 48 contiguous states and $20,000 for organizations located within the territories, Hawaii, or Alaska. Please note that this amount is for the entire 36 months and not per year. Applicants may budget expenses in excess of the required training and technical assistance amount if requesting to attend relevant non-OVW sponsored conferences or training. The budget and the budget narrative will be reviewed separately from the proposed project narrative. The budget narrative must describe each line item requested in the budget and explain all costs included in the budget, including how the costs of goods and services are determined and how they will fulfill the objectives of the project. And at this point, we're going to be joined by one of our colleagues from OVW's Grants Financial Management Division, Alonda Thomas. And if you could advance to the next slide, please.
Thank you, Edward. Hi, my name is Alanda Thomas from the Grants Financial Management Division. In the next couple of slides, we're going to focus on aspects of your application that relate to the documents that our financial team, the Grants Financial Management Division, GFMD, reviews. More specifically, we'll discuss some items that GFMD has identified from prior years' applications that can help with expediting our review process. So for today, we're going to highlight certain aspects of the pre-award risk assessment and provide you with a link to a detailed webinar on how to develop your budget that will be included with your application. First, we'll highlight the items identified in the summary data sheet. which is completed by all applicants. Specifically, 2 items that we would like to discuss are the single audit response and the IRS 3-step safe harbor procedure. OVW requests that all applicants provide a statement as to whether they have expended $750,000 or more in federal funds during the last fiscal year. If they have, then they indicate that and also specify the end date of their last fiscal year. However, GFMD is finding that applicants do not always include all of this information. Please ensure that this question is answered in its entirety on the summary data sheet. Question number 3. Another item that we'd like to highlight from the solicitation is specifically for nonprofit organizations. If you use the IRS 3-step safe harbor procedure to determine your executive's compensation, you are required to provide a disclosure letter. Please refer to the solicitation for further details and a link to a sample letter. Note that there are 4 required parts of this disclosure letter. The sample letter provided outlines all 4 parts of the disclosure, so please be sure to follow the sample and provide a response to each of the 4 pieces. The next item we'd like to discuss is the pre-award risk assessment questions, which assist GFMD during their pre-award risk assessment review for all applications. Each applicant must prepare a response to all 11 questions, and each question has multiple parts. We've noticed from prior years that applicants do not always fully answer all parts of the questions, which in turn requires GFMD to reach out to the applicant and which may delay funding decisions. Some of the most common issues that we've encountered have been, for example, question number 2, where the applicant indicates that they do indeed have internal policies, but they don't provide a brief list of topics covered in the policies and procedures. On question number 3, some applicants fail to provide a brief summary of the organization's process for tracking expenditures, and more specifically, whether or not it tracks budgeted versus actual expenditures. These are just a few examples, but in general, please make sure that you read each piece of each question and provide a full and comprehensive response. Next slide. This next slide will quickly highlight some resources that are available as you're creating the budget to be submitted with your application. This year, GFMD has developed a detailed webinar presentation on how to develop a budget to be submitted with OVW applications. This webinar addresses some of the challenges you may face with your budgets and provides some insight on OVW's budget review process. This webinar can be found at the link on this slide. Next up is the Uniform Guidance, which can be found at 2 CFR 200. Use your favorite search engine for this one. Other resources include the DOJ Financial Guide and the solicitation itself. Next slide. We know this can be a lot of information to process. So if you have any questions about the GFMD information discussed, please feel free to contact the GFMD Help Desk at 1-888-514-8556 or by email at ovw.gfmd@usdoj.gov, which in my opinion is the best option for communication. We have analysts online that answers emails in a timely fashion. So that would be the preferred method of communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Alanda. We really appreciate you being here with us to present during this webinar this afternoon. If we could move to the next slide, please. Now, turn our attention to the Memorandum of Understanding. The MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding section, can be found on pages 22 to 24 of the NOFO. For purposes of this NOFO, the MOU is a document containing the terms of the partnership and the roles and responsibilities between two or more parties. The MOU must be a single document and must be signed and dated by the authorized representative of each proposed partner organization. An applicant must include a nonprofit, non-governmental, or tribal organization with demonstrated expertise on domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and/or stalking, either as a lead applicant or a partner. Next slide, please. The MOE, Memorandum of Exemption, section can be found on pages 24 to 25 of the NOFO. This applies to applications from lead applicants that, as their mission or a designated subdivision's mission, provide services to domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and/or stalking victims. Applicants may submit an MOE in lieu of an MOU if they demonstrate that they have the required expertise in providing services and/or legal representation for victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and/or stalking. Please note that all applications with project partners who will receive subawards should submit an MOU, even if the lead applicant serves as the required expert. If an MOE is submitted in lieu of an MOU and the applicant does not meet the criteria to submit an MOE, the application may be removed from consideration. The applicant should carefully review the requirements for both the MOU and MOE and decide how best to proceed. The applicant should not submit both documents in their application. Only one will be scored. As a final note, if your application includes a tribal government as lead applicant or partner and you are unable to obtain one or more signatures on your MOU or MOE because the tribal council meeting schedule precludes this, you may submit an MOU or MOE that is unsigned or partially signed. The MOU or MOE text must state the previous and upcoming dates of the tribal council meetings to demonstrate that the tribal council did not meet while the NOFO was open. If selected for funding, Indian tribal governments will be required to submit a signed MOU or MOE as a deliverable post-award. Next slide, please. Pages 25 to 27 provide information about additional documents that will not be scored during the review process, but which should be included with your application. Failure to include any of these documents may result in your application being removed from consideration. Next slide, please. Recipients of OVW funds must comply with applicable federal civil rights laws, which, among other things, prohibit recipients from discriminating on the basis of national origin and disability. This includes taking reasonable steps to ensure meaningful access to grantees' programs and activities for individuals with disabilities, individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing, and individuals with limited English proficiency. Applicants must include funds or other resources in their budget that support activities to ensure access for these individuals. See page 36 of the NOFO for more information on these requirements. Next slide, please. And this brings us to our second break for questions. So I believe if we want to use the same method we did earlier, then people should raise their hands if they have a question they would like to ask at this point.
And we had told Martha that she could be the first question asker this time around. If your question has not been answered, please come off mute and ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. I have a question regarding we are a current grantees with a grant period ends in September 2025. While for we wanted to apply for the renewal for our existing grant, and we also would like to consider a second application for our office location. But I was wondering what is the distance that is allowable in order to apply for a second grant for another office location. Our other office is close by the family court where we like to allocate and have advocates in this area, and it's about 35 minutes from our main office.
So where there are multiple applications, you need to show that there is a distinct service area that the two applications are serving. So if I don't know the geographic area that you are serving, if that is a distinct geographic service area from the service area where your other project is already providing services, that could be allowable. If it's in the same service area, you would only be able to submit one application.
Okay, thank you.
Sarah.
Hi, yes. I came in a little late. I had another meeting, and I want to make sure this question is answered. Is it possible to use LAV funds to? We're a domestic violence agency with experience in 13 years experience in providing legal services. Is it possible to use LAV funds to fund money to like a social service agency to provide, clinical counseling as a wraparound service, or does the money only intended to be just for legal services?
The funding is only intended to be for legal services. Therapeutic counseling would be out of scope for the grant program.
Thank you very much.
Chris.
Yes, thank you for hosting this session. Regarding the scope of legal services, both proposed and provided, is direct legal representation prioritized, or do brief advice services, legal education, and documentation assistance and other related services, do those hold equal priority?
So we prioritize comprehensive legal services, and comprehensive legal services generally have a combination of all of those things. In whatever way makes sense for the project that you are proposing. Okay,
thank you. A very quick follow-up question, and you might be getting into this in the next section, but regarding reporting requirements, I tried to bring up examples of different reporting documentation. I saw the scope of what's needed on both a semi-annual and quarterly basis, but it will sample reporting documentation be provided as well?
Anyone who receives funding under this grant program, we provide some training on the reporting requirements, and those types of samples are made available.
Okay, is there any way to see the full scope of what's expected prior to award, like during the application process?
Right now, we are transitioning to a new reporting tool. So I would need to have you email the LAV inbox because I will need to get some more information on what I might have available for someone.
Okay, thank you so much.
Stephanie.
Hi, thank you. So just for clarity, the focus of this funding is to provide legal services to survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, etc. We are a nonprofit organization that provides immigration legal services. I know this question was asked earlier. We do have a subset of clients that we serve, specifically for domestic violence and under various categories. My main question is, if our organization's main mission isn't to solely serve this specific population, would we need to partner with another organization that does meet that eligibility component in order to make us qualify for this funding?
That depends. If your organization has a distinct division with the mission or purpose to provide these legal services to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, you may be eligible to apply with an MOE. However, if you do not have that distinct division with that mission or purpose, you should apply with a project partner.
Okay, and then if we need to then reach out to a partner, basically the partnership would be that they're expanding probably the access to legal services in which we're providing that component in this partnership. That would be kind of how we address the narrative.
I cannot tell you how to, I can't actually answer that question for you. You would have to work with your partner to figure out what makes sense for your application.
Got it. Thank you.
Philip?
Hi again. So going back to the pro bono, the 10%, the question is, can you explain kind of the reasoning for the 10% limitation on pro bono projects?
It's set by statute.
It's set by statute. Okay. So is 10% of the entire grant amount, the grant budget being set aside for pro bono projects?
Right. So the 10% is really not something that applicants need to worry about. This is an internal, it is 10% of the funding that how the funding is made available,
which is 33
grant
million
programs, and we handle that in-house. Applicants should, we put it in there because it's part of the statutory language, and we need to make sure that you are aware of the statutory requirements of the grant program, but this is not something that applicants should be concerned about.
So it's a cap for you, but is it also a minimum? Like out of the 33 million, is 10% of that set aside for pro bono? It's a cap. Okay. Thank you.
Jesse.
Hi, thanks. Quick question about one of the attachments, specifically the financial capability questionnaire. So if we are a current grantee, because there's some language about if you haven't submitted one in the past 3 years, the last time we would have been when we applied 3 years ago. So do we need to do that again?
I believe you do, and I'm going to recommend that you actually send that question to ovw.gfmd@usdoj.gov.
Okay.
Because our financial division can give you the correct answer for that question.
Do you mind giving me that email address one more time? Sorry about that.
Sure, I will put the email address in the chat.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, Kathy.
Hi, excuse me, sorry about that. If providing services to survivors of sex trafficking, are there limitations on the legal issues that can be assisted? Obviously, I think I read no tort cases, and obviously the criminal representation, but vacatur of records is okay?
So all of LAV funding generally is going to be like, the legal matter needs to be related to or arising from domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. There is an allowability for expungements that are expungement work where those convictions are related to or arising from domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or sex trafficking.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think that may be all the questions we have at the moment. It looks like it is. Okay, thank you, Sandy. So at this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Michelle, who will get us through the rest of the slides. And I think we could go to the next slide, please.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate the handoff. Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle Avery Weston, and I also am a grant management specialist in the Legal Assistance for Victims unit at OVW. Looking at our next slide here, you may find this funding opportunity that we're discussing today on grants.gov by using the CFDA number, grants.gov opportunity number, or the title of this NOFO, all of which can be found on the cover page. The FY 2025 application submission process is a two-step process with significant differences from the process prior to 3 years ago. Application materials will be submitted in grants.gov and Just Grants. We recommend starting the application process, even just the grants.gov and Just Grants registration process, as soon as possible to allow yourselves time to learn the system. Next slide, please. Read the NOFO carefully to understand all steps required to submit an application and the time required to complete those steps. Some steps, such as obtaining a unique entity identifier or UEI number, or registering with the System for Award Management, also known as SAM, or grants.gov, may take several days to complete. We recommend that applicants begin these processes as soon as possible, but no later than the date suggested in the NOFO. Next slide, please. Applicants must complete the application for federal assistance, which is also known as the SF 424, in grants.gov. The specific information required for this step is included on pages 28 and 29 of the NOFO. After submitting this form, the SF 424, the applicant will receive an email notification to complete the rest of the application in Just Grants. If the applicant is a new user in Just Grants, the email will include instructions on registering with Just Grants. Next slide, please. Applicants will submit the full application, including attachments, in Just Grants. If you have applied for OVW funding prior to 2 years ago, which would include most continuation grantees on this call, you will notice some significant changes in the application process. In the Just Grants system, applicants will enter some application information directly into text boxes and surveys, and upload some documents as attachments. We have included the following major elements of the application as examples of what applicants will submit in Just Grants. The proposal abstract will be entered in a text box. The pre-award risk assessment, application questionnaire, and summary data will be completed as surveys directly in Just Grants. The proposal narrative, as well as the budget worksheet and budget narrative, will be uploaded as attachments. The Memorandum of Understanding, the MOU, or the Memorandum of Exemption, MOE, will be uploaded as an attachment. In addition to these major elements, other documentation will be required for all applications or when applicable. Read the NOFO carefully for a full description of all items required. Next slide, please. In Just Grants, each applying entity will have an assigned entity administrator who is responsible for managing entity-level information and assigning roles in the system. The entity administrator is also the eBiz POC designated in sam.gov. For more information on registering with Just Grants, please refer to the website justicegrants.usdoj.gov. Within 24 hours of Just Grants receiving your application from grants.gov, the user submitting the application in grants.gov and the SAM eBiz POC will receive an email to register for a Just Grants account. The email is from DOJ's Secure User Management System. We also refer to it as Diamond, and will include instructions, on how to create an account. To ensure that you receive these emails and that they are not flagged as spam, we recommend adding the email address you see here, diamond-no-reply@usdoj.gov, to the trusted sender list in your email settings. Next slide, please. The eBiz POC at the applicant organization serves as the entity administrator and must log into Just Grants to confirm the entity's profile and add users. The user submitting the application in Just Grants serves as the application submitter. Within minutes of completing their Just Grants account registration, the application submitter and the entity administrator will receive an email from Just Grants with a link to the application that was started in grants.gov. Alternatively, the application submitter can log into Just Grants and locate the pending application in their work list on the home landing page in Just Grants. The application number listed on Just Grants will be identical to the 9-digit number that begins with grant, all in caps, on grants.gov. Next slide, please. Each lead applicant must have at least one authorized representative designated on Just Grants. An authorized representative is an individual with documented authority to sign an agreement with the federal government. Before the application is submitted, the entity administrator must log into Just Grants to review the authorized representatives associated with the organization. If an authorized representative does not have a Just Grants account, the entity administrator will need to invite them to register. Within minutes of being invited to be an authorized representative, the individual will receive an email from diamond-no-reply@usdoj.gov with instructions on how to create an account in DOJ's Secure User Management System. Once the authorized representative receives the email and completes the steps to create an account, the authorized representative will be available in Just Grants. Next slide, please. The application submitter will complete the application by entering data into web-based forms and text boxes, uploading attachments, and accepting assurances and certifications. The application submitter also will need to select the authorized representative or representatives. Once all sections are completed, the application submitter will submit the application. The application submitter, entity administrator, and authorized representative will then receive an email from Just Grants confirming successful submission of the application. Next slide, please. The Department of Justice has made a collection of self-guided training resources, including training and a virtual Q&A session on application submission, available at the website displayed on this slide. The application deadline. Final applications in Just Grants are due by 8:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, January 30th, 2025. Carefully review the How to Apply and Submission Dates and Times sections on pages 28 and 29 of the NOFO for applicant actions with required deadlines and for OVW's policy on late submissions. Submitting the application components at least 48 hours before each deadline, whether it's in grants.gov or just grants, or both, will enable applicants to receive notice of a failed submission and provide an opportunity to correct the error before the application deadline. Next slide, please. Applicants should only submit one application per program. If an applicant submits multiple versions of an application, OVW will review the most recent version submitted. Next slide, please. OVW offers several options for an applicant to provide advance notice of a delayed application. Applicants should thoroughly familiarize themselves with OVW's policy on late submissions, found on pages 31 and 32 of the NOFO. Extensions are rarely granted. Failure to begin the registration or application submission processes in sufficient time is not an acceptable reason for a late application submission. Next slide. Lastly, we have some tips that may improve your chances on becoming an LAV grant recipient. Please note that the following list is not a guarantee that you will be funded, but rather a guide to navigate you through the OVW application process. Please read the NOFO in its entirety. It's important to make sure you do not miss out on any important information by just skimming through the NOFO and focusing on the How to Apply section. Read the NOFO and contact LAV staff or submit your inquiry to the LAV email inbox if you have questions. Keep in mind that the people reviewing your application are not familiar with your organization or your work. Please write your application accordingly. It is not enough to simply state that your organization will meet the program requirements. When writing your application, you should show us how you plan to implement the requirements. Survivors are not one-dimensional, and neither are their needs. Your application should reflect that. Please describe how you will address the complex needs of all survivors in your community, including those who may be part of specific cultural or historically underserved groups. Rather than using national data in your application, please take care to find recently collected local data if you can. If that information is not available to you and you choose to use other data, please indicate that recent local data was not available to you. Next slide, please. Please be sure that your budget can support the goals and objectives in your narrative. Being overly ambitious is not to your benefit. To ensure that your application is feasible and accurately conveys your organization's capacity, involve multiple members of your organization when reviewing your application. In particular, be sure that the staff writing the narrative, drafting the budget, and implementing the project collaborate. We recommend that when you upload application documents, file names should be descriptive and match the language in the NOFO. For example, proposal narrative, using proposal narrative in the file names. Take note of all deadlines. Recall that the grants.gov deadline is before the Just Grants deadline. Next slide. A few more additional tips. Do not include reference materials, including attachments, that the NOFO does not ask for. Reviewers will not look at any extra materials, meaning that doing too much may negatively impact your score. Please demonstrate your expertise by showing us what you do, not copying and pasting language from the NOFO. We want to read about the great work you do in your own words. And do not go over the budget cap. Be very careful to be very careful to follow all formatting and technical requirements. These are not just guidelines, they have an impact on your score. Print out the final document and carefully proofread and review your application to ensure accuracy and completeness. Next slide. We have some information listed here on this slide, but we're also pausing at this time to allow time for any more questions that may have come up while I was reading this information to you.
And Michelle, I want to answer Joshua's question because he's had his hand raised for a while. But before we answer more questions from the hand raise, we should really get to these last handful of questions that are in the Q&A box that I haven't been able to respond to yet. But we'll let Joshua ask his question first.
Okay.
Actually, I tell you what, I'm going to wait until I hear the answers because it may be answered there. And if not, I'll raise my hand again.
Okay, that sounds great.
Sandy, would you like me to read the questions in the Q&A box to you, or
that would be great? Thank you,
okay.
Michelle.
Sure, my pleasure. One individual has asked, our organization has 12 partners. However, none of them are paid for their partnership and will not be paid through any funding received. Do we need to have an MOU for these partners, and do we need all 12 signatures?
I think the number of partners that you decide to have and the number of MOU partners you decide to have is completely dependent upon your project. And I cannot tell you whether or not you should have some or all of these project partners on an MOU. I can say that the MOU requires that if you have an MOU with these 12 partners, then all 12 of the partners would need to sign the MOU.
Okay. Another question in the Q&A box. Oh, let's see. We received feedback on our previous application that we did not allocate sufficient funds for survivors with disabilities, deaf, hard of hearing, and limited English proficiency, even though the line item far exceeded demonstrated need by at least 60%. Is there a preferred way to calculate a sufficient amount?
There's not a specific way to calculate a sufficient amount. I do think that your application should explain how you have determined the amount that you are budgeting for this line item in your budget narrative, and so that the peer reviewers understand how you came to the budget line item that you came to.
The next question asks, can you please clarify the required partnership with a legal service agency? Could we partner either through an MOU or subcontract with a singular attorney who has experience providing legal services to survivors?
So the legal service partner does need to be a nonprofit, non-governmental entity, tribal government. It needs to meet the eligibility requirements that are in the required partnership. If you don't have that experience or expertise providing legal services.
Okay. Next question is, what is considered a private nonprofit?
A nonprofit organization. It's kind of a general term.
All right. Can an applicant who is a lead agency partner with another agency who is applying separately as a lead if the second agency is a partner?
It sounds like you're asking if a lead and partner can apply as the lead with the other organization as the partner. And the answer is you can apply. you can do that. Because you would both, as long as both organizations are eligible to apply.
Okay. Someone would like to know, when are we getting access to the recording and the Q&A transcript?
The recording will be posted on OVW's website. I do not have an exact date for that at this time.
Okay. And I see one final question in the Q&A. And it's a bit long. Another question related to the partnership requirements. As a nonprofit with experience providing DVSA services, could we apply as a lead applicant proposing to contract with a for-profit legal services firm to provide LAV grant-funded DVSA legal services for eligible clients? Or would we still need to identify a nonprofit or tribal legal services provider to be a partner on the application? Thank you for clarifying.
If your organization does not have experience or expertise in providing legal services to victims, you are required to have a nonprofit or tribal partner with that experience.
Those are all of the questions I see that were in the Q&A. I don't know if anyone else has any questions they would like to ask. Joshua.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I know a lot of people have asked questions about this partnership requirements and the MOE qualifications. I have a similar question. I think, I don't know, I guess I'm finding some of the language in the NOFO about that to be maybe slightly confusing. So if we are a legal services provider and we have one program with experience providing legal services to the qualifying populations, then it sounds like that means we could have a memorandum of exemption instead of an MOU. Is that correct?
Right. As long as that division has the mission or purpose to provide those services to victims, and you're demonstrating your experience providing that legal representation to those victims.
And that wouldn't have to be their only mission. Is that correct? Like they could have that program could have a broad, like it's an immigration legal services program. It has a broader mission, but it does explicitly talk about those populations. Would that be sufficient?
So the language is that there does need to be a partner whose mission or purpose is to provide direct services to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. So you would need to show that your division's mission or purpose is to provide those legal services to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking.
So I'm still not clear if that could be a subset. I mean, if I were to show you the mission statement of that program.
I think you need to email the LAV inbox with this question. I don't think it's something we can answer effectively here today.
Okay, and just the last part of that question is, if we did decide that we feel we qualify for that MOE, then that means we would not have to have a partner organization. Is that correct?
Yes, organizations that meet both you are an organization or you have a subdivision with the mission or purpose to provide services to victims, and a nonprofit or tribal government with the experience and expertise in providing legal services to victims would be able to submit an MOE instead of an MOU.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
And Sandy, while you were speaking with Joshua, 2 more questions popped up in the Q&A. Do we have time for those?
Yes, we have about 15 minutes left. So,
okay. One person has said, we are a victim service provider which uses local family law attorneys to provide legal services to our clients. Can the funds be used to hire an attorney, or do we need to partner with an eligible partner?
You can hire an attorney. If you have never had an attorney work for your organization, I would recommend that you look at the Expanding Legal Services Initiative, because that would help you set up all of the policies and procedures that are needed to bring legal assistance in-house. And I'm assuming that hiring attorney is hiring an attorney for your organization in this question. But you would also need to show, you would also need to show that you had, like, someone has experience providing the legal services. So your organization or a project partner you need to be able to demonstrate that experience.
All right. Final question in the Q&A. Our organization serves DV and SA victims and have assisted with legal service by contracting with lawyers to assist victims for many years. Do we qualify?
I am assuming that you are a nonprofit eligible entity with experience providing DVSA. If you can demonstrate that you have experience providing legal services, I'm assuming this is about the MOU, then, like, if you can demonstrate both of those things, then you can submit an MOE. Otherwise, you would need to have a project partner. If you're asking another question, please raise your hand or clarify.
All right. And there's a follow-up question to the earlier question about hiring the attorney. The executive director at the organization is an attorney who has worked providing legal services. We would be hiring an attorney to serve our DV clients. So that's, I guess, not necessarily a question, just a clarification to the correct question.
Oh, and go ahead. You can come off mute.
All right, thank you for answering the question. So you were asking about establishing your experience with legal services. So we don't have an in-house, like, on staff attorney, but we contract with attorneys, for various services. Is that enough legal experience, or are you looking for something more than that?
That's actually, like, kind of a complicated question, and I want to make sure that I'm following the NOFO when I answer it. So what I'm actually going to ask you to do is email the LAV inbox with your question, because it seems like there are multiple parts to it, so that we can make sure that we address it adequately.
Thank you.
And another question has popped up. For the purposes of this grant, do both parties need to be nonprofits? Does that mean a nonprofit whose mission is to support DV and SA victims cannot partner with an entity that provides legal services to meet the need of DV and SA clients to provide legal assistance?
Can you clarify your question? A nonprofit, if I'm reading this correctly, a nonprofit whose mission or purpose is to provide services to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault can partner with another, like, with a nonprofit or tribal government that has experience and expertise in providing legal services to victims. And I just want to make sure I'm understanding your question correctly.
I don't know if this is the same participant following up. It might be saying, can a nonprofit whose mission is to provide support to domestic violence and sexual assault victims partner with an external partner to provide legal services?
Yes, and the partnership requirement is that let me just read that again here. Is that an application must include a nonprofit, non-governmental, tribal or tribal organization or tribal government with a mission or purpose of providing direct services to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. The application must also include a nonprofit, non-governmental, or tribal organization or tribal government with experience and expertise in providing legal representation by an attorney to victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. The one organization can meet both of those, or you can meet these partner requirements through an MOU where different organizations meet the requirement.
And I think you responded to their question because they said thank you in the Q&A. And I think those are all of the questions at this time. Just one last call. We do have a few more minutes. One last call if there are any other questions. Seeing no other questions, I would just like to say in closing, on behalf of myself and my colleagues in the LAV unit, thank you for attending today and for your questions. We hope you found this pre-application call helpful. We wish you good luck in preparing your applications and encourage you to reach out to the contacts listed on this last slide right here. If you have questions related to the program and program requirements, you have our team email inbox here, as well as our phone number. Financial questions, we recommend you reach out directly to the Grants Financial Management Division at their email inbox, which Alanda mentioned is probably the most expeditious way to reach them and receive a response, but she also provided a phone number. And any technical questions that you might have with grants.gov or Just Grants, there are dedicated email inboxes for those questions as well as phone numbers. So again, thank you and best of luck.